Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Katie, and you are listening to the Health, Wellness, and Chocolate podcast. So, we took a break last week, and I actually attended a seminar. We had such a crazy 2 weeks. We homeschool, right? So, the school year ended, and we had to put together, because we live in Pennsylvania, we have these binders we have to put together with proof of progress made in school, and then make an appointment with a certified teacher who's our evaluator, and they go through it and they interview the kids and they ask me questions. And so we had that to do, and then we left almost right away. We went to the Outer Banks and had a really nice vacation, and in between that I also attended a 4-day conference. So it's been a little bit of a crazy couple of weeks, but I wanted to share with you one of the major takeaways that I got from the conference, and I think you'll really find it helpful, especially when it comes to trying to lose weight. And it's this idea of words that we attach to our experience become our experience. Now, I've talked a lot about how your brain will tell you things, and then if we don't know this, we believe it's true, right? So if our brain's like, well, you're hungry, and then you'd be like, okay, I must be hungry. I'm going to go eat, right? That happened to me. I've talked about that before. Every time I'd pull up my driveway, I'd be like, okay, it's time to eat. And it wasn't until I learned this concept that I was like, oh, wait, I can't be hungry. I literally just had breakfast. I ran to the post office. It's 5 minutes from my house. I've been gone 10 minutes. I can't possibly be hungry. What is that? And as soon as I kind of caught the thought and challenged it, and I was like, there's no way I can possibly be hungry, I stopped feeling hungry. It was real. I was stunned it was like a game changer for me. I was like, what? This is crazy. So I really, truly do think that our thoughts are not always true. I think our brain is a beautiful, brilliantly designed tool, but we control it. We can control our brain because it's a tool that we're allowed to use, and we are not subject to its every whim. And so this will hopefully be another tool in your toolbox to help you when things come up for you that might derail your efforts when it comes to improving your health and your wellness. So with this idea of words that we attach to our experience become our experience, I want to show you how this can play out in your life. So I'm going to tell you 2 true stories about the same event. Both are very much true, but what I want you to kind of focus on is like where your focus goes, energy flows, right? So if you are habitually using the words for yourself that are negative, you will probably wind up very frustrated. You might find you struggle with anger, or you might find you struggle with negative emotions. And we all know when we kind of have that pattern, and we're an emotional eater, our go-to is going to be food, right? So what we want to do is start to train our brain. And this isn't like a Pollyanna, like, let's only focus on the good. Like, we can acknowledge, like, wow, this isn't right. Like, I want this to change. But we don't have to live there, right? We can also pay attention to what is good, because our brain doesn't know the difference chemically, right, between like the reality that is actually real, or like what the experience is that we're telling it is real. Okay. So our thoughts are really forming the reality that we have. So if we wanted to have a better reality, we really just have to change our thoughts, which really sounds kind of crazy, but it actually is true. And I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to give you a tale of our vacation. This vacation is the one we just took. It wasn't a vacation. I would never... It's going to sound like I want to be grateful about it, because for years we couldn't even afford a vacation, right? Like, we just wouldn't go away. We had so many kids, and we had a dog, and, it would be so much extra to either bring her or leave her. So I think in our 20 years of marriage, we went away for our honeymoon. We went away like a weekend here or there in the 2000s, early 2000s. Then in 2015, okay, so 15 years, we went away for a week. And then last year we went to Maine for a few days. So really, like, I can kind of count on one hand how many vacations we've actually had. So I am beyond grateful that we had a getaway, but it was not wonderful. Okay, so here's my first story of our vacation. So my husband has hurt himself. He has a pinched nerve in his back, and he cannot walk more than 2 or 3 steps without either falling over or needing to sit immediately down. And he's in a lot of pain. He has an appointment to see, he's been to a chiropractor, he's been to his primary care doctor, he has been to a couple of other people. He has an appointment for an orthopedist, but it's been like weeks now, and he's had to wait for these appointments to come. No one could take him that day. So the poor man has been in agonizing pain, and there's really nothing he can do besides just lay around. So he's frustrated because he's in pain, obviously. And it's frustrating for me, and it's frustrating for the kids, right? Like, so he's laying there like, oh, can you get me a drink? Can you get this? Can you help me with this? Oh, Kate, the kids are getting into that, or, right? So I am doing the work of him and me now, right? Running around. And so that's kind of frustrating. Thankfully, he does get some relief when he can sit. So that's a good thing. So he was able to drive on vacation. Like he was able to come with us for the car ride. And it wasn't excruciating for him, which was really a nice thing. Okay. But in the meantime, he's basically out of commission. I'm kind of running solo here, right? He can't work. He's home, but he's really like not here. He's just so frustrated, and he's so in so much pain. He's really kind of miserable and frustrated. Like he's just, trying so hard to be pleasant, but he's just not himself. So we have that to contend with. So imagine now I have to pack for 10 people. I have to load the car for 10 people, have to prep for 10 people, have to get the house, all the prep work that comes into taking vacation, right? So I have to do it times 10 people. Because most of the older kids are fine, but you still have to tell them, like, make sure you remember underwear. My little guys always have to pack for them. So all the laundry, all the logistics of packing and planning food, we want, because obviously he's hurt, we don't know when he'll be back to work. So obviously we don't want to be, wasteful with our money. So I planned out a bunch of meals and did a lot of prep cooking and packed coolers and all that stuff, right? The second thing that kind of wasn't awesome was because because restrictions of COVID are opening up, a lot of people have decided they want to take a vacation, which is great, right? Everybody's got the same mindset. But out of the entire Outer Banks, there was one house available for the week and the dates that we needed it to be. Because also, I didn't mention this part, this is the 4 days that we were able to get away are literally the only 4 days this summer that we can get away. I have kids that are going to be going to camp, and then my one daughter's going to be going away to college in August, and she's doing also mission trips in August. So there's literally like almost no time left before we have to say goodbye to her and send her off to college, which breaks my mama's heart. And I wanted to have just a few days with just our family before we start having our kids leave the nest. So it was very important to me that we get away. And I had never been to the Outer Banks, and I had really, really wanted to go. And I had heard that they were a little bit more open, and the beaches are beautiful. So I was like, I really want to do that. So we found one place, and it was on the expensive side for what we got. But I was thankful to have it, right? So the house was overpriced, but it was the only rental available, so we took it, okay? So we travel down, and the baby hates the car in the car ride. He hates it. He gets very upset. He works himself up, and it's about 8 hours from our house. So about at the 3-hour mark, he throws up everywhere. So we have to pull over, clean him up. I wind up having to sit next to him for the remaining 5 hours of the ride, and let one of my older girls sit up front so I could at least keep him company. But he really just wanted attention. So for the next 5 hours, I had to sit in the back seat singing little songs and trying to keep him occupied and happy so he would not cry and throw up again, right? So we get there. The house is okay. We've gotten Airbnbs like last year when we went to Maine, and maybe we got a little spoiled, but I had expected there to be at least a sponge, toilet paper towels, like stuff that you would use when you're renting a house. And I was not under the assumption that we were supposed to bring all that. So we had to run to the store and get a lot of like little supplies that I actually had at home, but I didn't pack because I didn't think we needed it, right? So it's just like another little nagging thing. But Or we arrived, we went up to the beach, we sat, we watched the sunset. It was lovely. Beautiful views, right? Well, that night, 2 of my kids get sick, screaming, ear infections, crying. Now, we're not home. I have no medicine, right? There's nothing I can do for them. I had happened to remember to bring Motrin just in case, but that was it. Like I had nothing to help them with. So he's writhing in pain. The other one is crying. It was like, we're not home. There's no comforts of home to offer them, right? So there's another thing that didn't go so well. While we were driving down there, we were almost to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, and the GPS added 3 hours to our trip because the Chesapeake Bay Bridge was shut. And it said, you have to go reroute through Washington, go back up and go through Washington, D.C. and back down Route 95 because the Chesapeake Bay Bridge is shut. And we're like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, we've already been in the car now hours. And then to add 3 hours to the trip, I think everybody was about to die, right? So once we finally do arrive at the house, and we get everybody settled, and we're looking at things to do. What can we do? Everything is booked. We wanted to take them on a dolphin boat ride. That is booked. We wanted to take them, my husband wanted to take the older kids to do something, and that was booked. There was almost nothing available to do besides, go to the beach, which was fine. We did that, but still everything was booked, and we couldn't really do what we wanted to do. Because everybody got sick, the next day, not everybody got sick, but because a few of the kids were sick, the next day was spent, we have a thing we can call in and explain the symptoms, and then they'll give us what we need. And so we were able to do that. So the whole next day, the kids that were sick wound up sleeping. So we didn't go very far, which I guess worked out because my husband was sitting around anyway because he was in so much pain. So the house is not baby-proofed for a 2-year-old. So I spent a good majority of the week hiding the knickknacks that were around the house so they wouldn't break, and keeping him, if you're ever down at the shore, there's like these high decks, and there's like beautiful chairs and beautiful views, but when you have a 2-year-old, it's like crazy scary. So I spent a lot of time moving him away from any kind of dangerous situation and trying to keep him from breaking the other person's property. Add to that, he would throw a screaming fit every time we did this because he's in the throes and the thick of being 2 years old, to the point where one night it was just bedtime. It had been a long day. The kids, were finally got medicine in them, but they were miserable. It was just a really long, miserable, trying day. I think it was probably one of my least favorite days of ever being a mom, ever. And I just felt stretched beyond my own capacity. And I was trying to put the baby to bed, and he just wasn't having it. He was throwing such a temper tantrum, so much so that he made himself sick. And he threw up all over me, all over his clothes, all over my clothes, all over the blanket, all over the floor. So it's, 9:00 at night. I have to give him a bath. I have to shower again. I have to wash all the blankets. And I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. And then I remembered this because I was feeling like, why did we even go? Why did we spend this money? What a waste. How foolish. I was so frustrated with myself because I'm like, I just, what were you thinking? Why would you go? Like, this is, you're just kind of forcing this. Like, what are you doing? And I was really kind of beating myself up about it and feeling really bad. But then I remembered, the words we attach to our experience becomes our experience. So if I want to say this was the worst vacation ever, or this was so stupid, why did I even do this? Or, what a waste. All those words, would define the vacation. And I didn't want that. I really wanted to have a great vacation. And so remembering this tool, words we attach to our experience become our experience. And using habitual words will change the way we experience life. And what comes up then is something called confirmation bias, right? And that is like, you will find evidence for whatever it is you're looking for, because your mind will accept your thoughts as reality. If your thoughts are, this was the worst vacation ever, it will find evidence to show that that was the worst vacation ever, and the emotions will follow those thoughts, right? And I will just attach the worst vacation ever to emotions and probably hate the Outer Banks forever. And I didn't want that to happen. I really wanted to have a nice vacation. So I said, let me do this. Let me see if I can't just be grateful and see what comes up and see if I can't attach better emotions to the situation. So now I'm going to tell you a very true story, equally true, about my vacation that I just got back from. Okay. So my husband has off of work. Right? He actually has some time to spend with us. We have some free time right now in our life. It isn't ideal, but he's available. All my kids are home right now, and we have the opportunity and a couple extra bucks extra where we can go and grab a quick vacation, a quick getaway. After a long, hard year, it was definitely something we wanted to do. It just so happens that there was one rental available. Out of all those rentals, there was one. And it was available exactly when we needed it and exactly when we wanted it. And that was wonderful. When we were driving, our GPS told us that it was going to take an extra 3 hours because the bridge was closed. And I looked at my husband and I said, well, we've got nothing to lose. Let's just go see by the time we drive down there, which is still was a few hours away. Let's see if it's still closed when we get there, and we can decide what to do from that point. Because if it's just a car accident and they close the bridge, they'll probably be open by the time we get down there. If not, I just looked on the map. There's a state park right next to it. We can go there and spend the day. Even if we spend 3 hours there, we still would be not spending 3 hours in the car. We wouldn't be any worse off than we are right now if we go and take the detour that the GPS is telling us to take. At least we'll spend it at a park and the kids can stretch their legs and we can all relax a bit. So we said, let's ignore the GPS and let's just go head for the bridge and see what happens. And so we did. And by the time we got to the bridge, it was open. And we were able to go and not have to take that 3-hour detour that it had told us to take. So we went with our gut and it totally worked out, right? When we get down there, the house it had air conditioning. The views were gorgeous. We were able to, there was enough space for all of us. The kitchen, all the appliances worked fine. We were able to just kind of unwind there as best we could. And that night when my kids were sick, there was a pharmacy only 4 miles away. And we have a program through my husband's work called SwiftMD where we can just log in and call a doctor and they can prescribe prescription medicine anywhere we need them to, and they could diagnose on the phone. So we didn't have to go to urgent care. We didn't have to spend any part of our vacation like at a doctor's office trying to figure out what was wrong with them. We were able to talk to a doctor within the hour after calling them. And then within a few hours, they had medicine that they needed. And it was, hardly a big deal, right? Like it was really quite a blessing. We were able to get them the help they needed and get them feeling better within 1 day, right? And so, and because we were on vacation, there was nothing available to do. So we didn't have to cancel anything because the kids got sick. Right, so we didn't lose any money on having to cancel the boat ride that we wanted to take because it wasn't available to book in the first place. Also, the beaches were gorgeous and they were free to go on. So we could just drive to the road. We could park right at the sand dune, right on the road, right by the entryway. My husband was able to walk far enough. He would just have to sit down for a minute, catch his breath because he had a back problem, but he was able to join us on the beach every single day. And even on the last day, he was able to get in the water and swim a little bit, which helped his back a lot. So that was another, a nice blessing as well. Because we spent so much time on the beach, swimming in the ocean and the waves, the kids actually slept pretty well at night. Will did have a little bit of a problem going to bed the one night, but he actually, for the first time ever, slept in his own bed without waking up during the night to come in my room and sleep with me. So that was a big deal. And so, while I was sitting there that night thinking, I want to have and attach better emotions to this vacation, I started listing all the things that were right. Then, while I was doing that, our master bedroom had a deck on the third floor. We had the entire third floor as our master bedroom. We were able to step out onto the deck, and that overlooked the ocean and the bay. It was quite gorgeous. And we were able to sit there and just kind of laugh at what a crazy vacation we had and say, this is one for the books. And we were actually able to talk because he was sitting and the house was quiet, and we had just really had a rough day. It was kind of nice to just be able to sit there and fall apart and be like, man, this was like kind of crappy. And he would laugh and say, yeah, it really was kind of crappy. And then we were able to laugh and kind of decompress and, take a deep breath and be like, there's just going to be times where this is life, right? But the ride home was uneventful. We came back rested. We came back appreciative of our own house. We had no car trouble. We had no issues we did not hit any traffic either direction, which is really remarkable because where we are in Pennsylvania, it seems like there is a car accident constantly on Route 80. And even if you just want to run to the store, there's it always feels like there is a traffic jam somewhere nearby, right? And it's almost like one time I had to go out and I went literally just down the road. I made a left-hand turn and sat in traffic for 2 hours and then had to turn around and come back home. So it's kind of a little bit, I really feel like it was kind of like a miracle that we made it down there and back with no car issues, no traffic. Right. And because I had learned, too, that my son likes it when I sit next to him in the car, coming home, he did not throw up. There was no drama on the way home. We stopped at the Wright Brothers Museum coming home. And even though my husband was in pain, he was able to walk a little bit and then he could just sit on a nearby bench and then walk a little bit and sit on a nearby bench. But my son had read about the Wright Brothers this year, my fourth grader. And so it was really a cool experience for him to see where they launched it, what the sand dunes look like, where they would tried out the plane from. And so it really brought history to life for him. So that was another amazing thing about my vacation. So there's 2 vacations. Both happened. Everything I told you is 100% true, right? But I can either focus on all the negative, or I could focus on the positive and say, yeah, the negative happened and it was really crappy, but look at all the stuff that happened that was good. And I could focus wherever my focus is going to go is going to be the emotion, right? That's going to become my experience. So what do I want my experience to be? I want it to be positive, and I want to speak it positively for my kids to hear because I want them to have fond memories of a vacation. I don't want them to have memories of mom feeling frustrated that there's 9 people calling her name at once and needing something from her. I want them to remember mom that was like, wow, this is so nice. That always points to beauty. That always points out truth. That always points out the good, right? The bad exists. The bad's always going to exist. That's life. We live in a fallen world. The bad will always be here. So we could focus on the bad, but we miss all the good when we focus on the bad. And I'd rather just experience the good and remember the good and just be like, yeah, there's the bad. It's right over there. And I could look at it and be like, well, that's too bad, but I'm going to look at the good. And so that's what I'm going to choose to do. I want my confirmation bias to be the good, right? I want to find evidence of what I'm looking for to be evidence of good things, right? Like what a privilege it is to be able to have a few days and go away, right? That's more than most of the world can do. That's amazing, right? Really, that is completely amazing. So they didn't have a sponge and they didn't have, what else did he didn't have garbage bags. And they didn't have weird things that I kind of thought they should have if it's an Airbnb, but he didn't have it, right? So it's like, but you know what? It's okay. We went and grabbed them and it's fine. Now I have extra garbage bags at my own house and it's all good. So anyway, those are the 2 stories. So which story is going to make me feel good about the life choices we've had, right? They're both true. And I get to choose which one I want to focus on. So if the bad makes me feel like, oh, why'd you do that? Why'd you spend that money? Why did you go do that? And I could spend hours beating myself up, right? But what's that going to do? It's going to drain my emotional energy. And what do I do when my emotional energy gets drained? I eat. Why would I want to do that? I don't, right? So if this is you, take a look and see, like, okay, there's two realities here. Both are true. Which one do I want to focus on? I'd rather focus on the good, because now I'm like, oh, it's only June and we were already able to have a vacation. And now that my kids are starting to go away, first to be working at camp this summer, and then to be going away to college, that we made a memory. And we spent hours together that we may not have had been able to. And even in the car, we got to sit next to each other and hang out and just chat and be friends. And, and I could impart a little bit more wisdom to them. And those are true, right? It's all true. So what would I want to focus on? What do I want the experience to be? What emotions do I want and words do I want to attach to the experience we had? I want to attach life. I want to attach goodness. I want to attach truth and beauty to the experience, because that's what I want to experience. So, and when I do that, I'm not hungry, right? I feel fulfilled. I feel content. I feel happy. And all those feelings don't make me hungry. And I want that. Okay, so take this and see what you can do with it this week. Tell yourself the stories. Okay, both are true, but which one do you want to focus on? Which one will serve you better to help you hit the goals that you want to hit? And you can do this with everything. It's really quite remarkable. You're able to just do it. And yes, you do create your reality, because the words that you attach to the experience are what become your experience. So why not tell yourself good words, especially if they're true words? Why not? All right. Have a great week, you guys. And I hope you do get away for a little vacation this summer. I hope it includes less vomit than my vacation did, and less infection, but and less back spasms. But overall, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So I have a lot of character now. Anyway, you guys, have an awesome week, and I will see you next week. If you like this, come join me inside the Health and Wellness Blueprint. I'd love to have you. It's only $1. I'd let you try it out and see if you like it. So come on in. The water's nice. Have a good week and take care. Bye-bye.